And I'm curious, what advice you would give professionals transitioning from, IC, hardcore technical roles into leadership?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a great question because it's important for the leadership of the companies to give them roles. And some of the ideas that I've seen work quite successfully is ensuring that everybody communicates. So in your team, when you have team meetings, looking around the room, scanning the room, and ensuring that everybody contributes in some way. And if they don't in the meeting, ensuring that you follow up with them afterwards. You want to give them a chance. All the high priority projects that you are included, you want to question yourself about how you're choosing leaders of these key task forces or projects and giving different people an opportunity to shine. You want to reward team efforts because if you find, I mean, in technology, one of the big myths is that these individuals are really the superstars and other people don't contribute. And once again, there's a lot of social science and also writing. In particular, Walter Isaacson talks about even the great lone geniuses were not lone geniuses. They worked with a team. And so understanding that this is a team effort and figuring out how you allow your team to contribute.
Absolutely. And a lot of times, no offense to the superstars out there, but a lot of times superstars don't make the best leaders. They're very good at really diving quite deep, and essentially very good at their expertise. But the people that are the good collaborators are typically the best leaders. The people that can really get the most out of everyone around them, surround themselves with those smart people, and kind of take and pull, and then really kind of bring the entire culture up. Is what I've seen and heard of, when I've had similar discussions with technologists. Now, I'm curious, how you think mentorship programs can be structured to genuinely, I think is the ideal, is the hard word there, is to support women and underrated talent in STEM.
Right. Such a great question. And mentorship and sponsorship are both, two forms of mentorship that are really critical to to nurturing that next generation. We've always had mentors, but many of the leaders from the past find people that look like them, and with consciously or unconsciously they spend time trying to nurture that talent. And so when people look differently, that's when mentoring programs can be the most effective, because you're breaking these unconscious barriers of how to mentor the next generation. And all of my mentors were men, or up till a few years ago at least, because the people who had what I wanted, the people who could tell me how to get where I needed to go, were men. I mean, because there just weren't that many women. Over time, I also found mentors that were women, and they are some of the most important people in my life. You also want to think about sponsors, because the sponsor is the person in your organization, hopefully not working in the same line of command, but that can help you get that position that you didn't even know existed. So people who are really playing advocate role for the up and coming generation is also really important. Now, you asked specifically about mentoring programs, and they can be successful with attention and ensuring that these conversations are, are really helping. I have a friend who runs a mentoring program in Boston, and she looks at the mentee and the mentor, and she spends a lot of time figuring out how these matches are made. I mean, mostly they're not at the same company. She finds mentors from different companies, and then she also helps seed some questions between these mentoring sessions to help these conversations. Because all too often, if I come up to you and say, okay, tomorrow you're a mentor, you aren't necessarily going to know how to be the most successful mentor for this person. And so figuring out what are the things that you really want to mentor young people on, young women, underrepresented groups, is really important.
I would sum up a bit of what you said as, preparation, really taking the time to, understand exactly what the goals are of this program, and also
Mhm.
finding the right people, because I have come across people that have been pushed into mentorship positions said, hey, all right, you're at X amount of level in your career. Here we go. All right, now it's time to be a mentor. When sometimes it is not the best scenario to, get the most out of someone. And also, as far as what you suggested for your friend in Boston, come out with questions, kind of setting the playing field as far as, here are some things that would be great starting points with your mentor. Maybe share with them what you're looking for, what your areas of
Right.
interest are, maybe what you would like to be one day. We can talk 5 years, 10 years, maybe 20 years down the line, but then at least there's some baseline to go off of, a bit of information that can be shared and maybe excite, the mentor or the sponsor, as far as, oh, I remember when I wanted to do this and now they are where they're at, and that's, I think, is kind of the ideal scenario. Someone that, achieves something that they're very proud of and would like to help the next generation of leaders, no matter where they are, what I would say background they have, but ensure that they have the skills and the right, game plan to try and, accomplish something that they're looking for.
Right. So I agree. And it's important to have mentoring programs, but I also, sometimes mentorships are organic. I mean, most of the mentors that I've had, I just walked up to somebody and I asked them a question, how would you approach this problem? And they helped me with it. And then you do that with maybe somebody else and you continue to show up and ask questions. I can't emphasize enough how important it is that you find the right mentor. The example you talked about happens all the time. I also remember a woman, a principal engineer. She was her mentor, her assigned mentor, was the only woman in this company that was in a
Of
senior role,
course.
but they were in HR, and so they had that the person she was assigned as a mentor was chosen because she was a woman, which was not the right choice. She
Not at
really
all.
needed to find somebody who could help her um, rise to that next level.
Thank you for listening to the STEM Career Coach with Donnie McClary. If you enjoyed today's episode, hit subscribe and stay tuned for more inspiring stories and actionable tips. Catch you next time.